The toilet-smoking atheist persuader decided to respond to atheists in general. He didn't even ask for $10 an hour up front. So we're getting a deal here, I guess. And before you ask, I had the same question. Is this worth my time? No. Alright, let's get on with it. I'll probably just reply to little bits and pieces of this. Altogether, it's like 20 minutes of kind of repetitive rambling. There's a lot of room to cut that down, so I'm going to.
Hey guys.
Hello, Albert. Still on the toilet, I see. Seems this was a long one. I've heard prune juice helps. Can't speak to that myself. I have an exceedingly efficient intestinal configuration. Spent a lot of money and time getting it that way. Putting prune juice in there would be like putting regular gasoline in a Ferrari.
So you can hate me? You can hate my smoking habits?
I don't hate you, Albert. Your smoking habits, though, I gotta admit, those are kinda easy to hate. Many a person seems to have felt more queasy than necessary after having witnessed them.
But my intellect perseveres.
Well, I will say it's true that your remarkable smoking habits don't necessarily reflect on your intellect. Some other things about that video did reflect on it, but that's not the point right now.
You know why?
Why your intellect perseveres? No, I don't know why. I find it unfathomable.
Got a lot of hate on that video about convincing atheists to believe in God.
Hate? I don't know, maybe some. Criticism, yes, a fair amount. Look, man, it wasn't exactly the most well-thought-through video on YouTube, okay? Toilet thoughts rarely are. Why are you still doing that format, by the way? Look, if you just took your smoke break before the video and didn't make your video on the toilet, even if you feel the need for some reason to make it in the bathroom, that would already get rid of a lot of the less constructive criticism. If you want to be taken seriously, and you're trying to pitch yourself as an employee for $10 an hour, you're not doing yourself any favors with this format.
I'm like, you think I'm the brainwashed one, but you don't even know my stance. You don't even know that I don't practice religion or believe in the soul.
I don't even know what criticisms you're responding to exactly there, so I can't really speak about them. But it is interesting what you just said. You don't follow religion and you don't believe in the soul, although you do believe in God. See, now I understand a little bit more of where you're coming from, at least. This is useful. It lays out the parameters of the discussion a little bit more clearly. Let's keep this going.
You know, they're calling me an idiot because it doesn't seem likely.
Okay, I did see some people calling you that, but I don't think it was because not being religious and not believing in the soul is unlikely. As you said, the people don't even know your stance, so why would they be calling you names based on how likely it is that you hold that stance? It doesn't make sense, Albert.
I'm like, all your beliefs do is just disprove God.
Okay, cool. Job done, I guess.
But you don't know if God is a physical being that's more complete than us.
Okay, it sounds like we're talking about capital G God, which is not a physical being. That's part of the definition of it. It's transcendent of the physical. So if that's what we're talking about, then no. On the other hand, if we're just talking about some random being that we're calling God, which just happens to be a really powerful physical being, then okay, sure. There could be a really powerful physical being that thinks stuff and wants stuff and so on. Why not? I still don't believe that's a thing, but could be, technically. It could technically be.
God could have died a long time ago. Doesn't mean that there wasn't a creator.
Creator of the universe? Okay, sure, interesting idea. This universe was created by some super powerful physical being. That's a great sci-fi plotline or something. What does that have to do with anything? Don't you stand up, I've done this before. Why am I here? What is my life? You just dropped your butt in the toilet, didn't you? Cigarette butt. I guess in this case I have to clarify that.
The whole point is that
you are torturing that toilet seat. Actually, now I'm thinking it's much more likely a lid, which is an enormous relief.
Intellect is actually running parallel with belief, because scientists use belief systems to motivate themselves for their task.
Okay, there are ways I could take that are generally true, and there are other ways I could take that are not. And I don't know which one you mean, so I guess before I say anything about it, I might as well let you slowly inch your way towards the point.
Real scientists, real professionals. Everybody is manipulated through their beliefs. You know, there is always a manipulator. You know, there could be people that are on top of each other, manipulating each other,
But sometimes the one on the bottom is a power bottom, and then that's the one doing the manipulating. You know what? This entire context makes sex jokes feel like viscerally gross. I take it back. I'm not going to do that anymore in this video.
But there is always a manipulator of your beliefs. And atheists are manipulated to disprove a higher source of power.
So everybody has some kind of belief about something, and their actions are to some extent based on what they believe. Okay, well, of course I agree with that. As observations go, that's pretty much the equivalent of thin gruel. It's not exactly hard to swallow. You remember when I said this video is pretty much not worth my time? Yeah, but I guess we gotta have fun sometimes, if you want to call this fun.
You know?
I know.
That's the truth.
Yeah, okay, what else you got? Come on.
But God, the creator, could be a physical being. I don't believe in the omnipotence of energy. You know?
Why not? I mean, if you're going to say God is a physical being, isn't that as good of a choice as any? If not that, then what?
My whole point is that this world is too perfect.
No, you see, in the world right now, I have to stand here watching you in the bathroom. This is far from a perfect world.
And that it was designed for us to recycle our nutrients until there aren't any left.
Until there aren't any left? That seems exceptionally unlikely. I'm pretty sure the sun will expand and sterilize the earth before that ever happens. Like, how would that even happen? Every chemical required for life would need to get locked away in some permanent sink, inaccessible for all of time? There's no sign of that being something that will or even really could happen. But so now I'm wondering if the joke I made in the last video, when you said that all the fuel is going to run out in 50 to 150 years, when I said that food is fuel too, so we'll all just starve, I'm wondering if I was closer to the mark than I thought I was.
You know, I do believe in some atheists, actually secular beliefs. You know?
Well, yeah, I'm sure we share some beliefs that don't have anything to do with the supernatural. That seems necessary just to be able to function.
Maybe our purpose is to either motivate the next evolution of species or to create a technological life that can reproduce itself.
Okay, but in the last video, you said that all the fuel on Earth is going to run out, and we're going to be sent back to the past to make bicycles, coffee pots, cuck, and farming. And that's going to cause all technology to end, and there's no point being in a technology job. But now we're talking about making technological self-reproducing life, which I assume, if all the fuel's gone, has to be what, solar-powered? But then if the sun can power that beyond the next 50 to 150 years, presumably, why can't it power other technology? I really don't understand the future scenario we're talking about here, Albert.
And there's a ton of metal in space, you know?
True, there's lots of metal in space. Is there lots of fuel, too? And if so, why are we talking about the fuel running out? If we can get the metal, we can get the fuel. Or are we really just banking on 100% reliance on solar power for this, and so none of the fuel stuff matters?
Call my beliefs far-fetched if you want to.
I'm not calling your beliefs anything, Albert. I barely understand what they are. Currently, they just seem wildly inconsistent, which makes it hard to have an opinion about whether they're true or false overall.
But at least they give hope. At least they give hope, you know?
Do they? Like your belief that all fuel is going to run out in 50 years and we'll all be farmers again? I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a farmer, but I would say all of us returning to subsistence farming, not by choice but by necessity, is kind of a bleak view of the future, don't you think? Where does the hope come from? Oh, from us also at the same time being able to make technological self-reproducing life. Okay, what does that do for us? Why am I going to be hopeful about that? Apparently, I'm going to be eking out an existence on a farm, in between making coffee pots. What do I care if some robot makes more robots?
Atheism is like a cult, you know, because they disbelieve.
Alright, I don't know where you looked up the definition of a cult, but if you think it's just disbelieving in something, you might want to look that one up again.
But I just believe, I'm not even sure that there was a higher being that created the earth.
Okay, based on what? Well, I suspect that this has something to do with that subjective reasoning that you were talking about in the description of the other video, which I read through in mine. In other words, you believe it because you just have an opinion. There's nothing more to it than that, which, knock yourself out. I could not possibly care any less.
And if the earth created itself, then the earth is alive, and the earth is our God.
If the earth created itself... You mean like gradually accumulating pieces through gravitational attraction? Does that count as creating itself? If so, that's not the behavior I would associate with a literal god. That doesn't sound like a god at all. It sounds like a rock. It does nothing much but sit there and be a rock. If that happened, why would this mean that the Earth is both alive and an actual god? What line of reasoning is leading you to either of those conclusions? I would be shocked if there is one, but I figure I'll toss the question out there and see what happens.
We all come from water. Every species on this planet comes from water.
Sure. From the earliest life, which almost certainly originated in the water, anyway. I'm being precise here because I feel like I'm being set up for something really, really dumb.
So praise the water as your Lord.
Uh-huh. No, water's water. It's a bunch of molecules flopping around. It is not my lord. It is not a god. And it didn't even create life. Why would I praise water as a god? You're just saying things, man. None of it means anything.
Because if you arrogantly mock the higher source that feeds you, you're only giving yourself bad luck.
What is the higher source that feeds me? The water? The earth? Hey, Earth! You got a dumb face, Earth. And it's got dirt on it. Gross. We'll see if I have bad luck from that. But for now, let's go on to the next one, which is called A Response to the Atheists Commenting. With the first one, I tried to be more or less thorough, covering pretty much everything he said. Now, though, I'm going to do a little bit more snipping. Otherwise, we'll cover a lot of the same ground and a lot of boring stuff.
Hey guys.
I feel like you're trying to make a point with continuing with smoking. It's not worth it. It's not doing what you think it's doing.
So this video is for all of the atheists that thought that they disproved me about my beliefs in God. Apparently I didn't have evidence and stuff like that.
Apparently? That's just a fact. You didn't even try to present any. At least I don't think you did. At least I hope you didn't. If you were trying to do that this whole time, that'd make it much worse.
Because I crafted my own beliefs. I speculated, and I formed them using scientific reasoning.
I hope you mean you did them one after the other, not that they're the same thing. And if so, sure, a lot of scientific investigations will start with speculation, hopefully informed speculation, but that's the start, not the end. Then you gotta do the science part, and that involves actually doing something. It's not just reasoning. Science is more of an empirical process than a rationalistic one.
You want to prove that there is no God, that there is no creator. So you turn to science. But what you don't know is that most of that is pseudoscience. It's just the ramblings, the opinions of astronomers and physicists. You know?
Okay, what's your problem with that? Again, the thing from the description before about subjective reasoning would imply that you don't really think that this is invalid. But so, okay, the astronomers and the physicists are all talking out of their ass, but you know what you're talking about. What you're saying is not pseudoscience, because you've done something, ?
They're focused on space, and they got past the sky like, okay, so there's no man in the sky. This proves God.
I don't believe anybody said that to you. I think you made that up.
I'm like, your faith was weakened.
My faith is non-existent. What does this have to do with whether water or the earth is my god? Are we talking scientific reasoning here, Albert, taking us to these conclusions? Or is this a faith position? Which is it? Pick one.
You can believe in God without a soul.
Yeah, obviously.
Because God could be a celestial being. God could be a celestial piece, bigger than Earth, more complete, that gave birth to the Earth and shot it into orbit around the sun.
What does any of that mean? That he's a giant, star-sized physical being that put the Earth in its orbit just 'cause? Okay, sure. Okay, what I'm getting from all of this is that when you say God, you really just mean any random thing you slap that label on. Okay, but then how is it useful as a concept? It isn't really even just one concept. Why even use the word?
What you don't understand is that it's speculation, but it has principle. You as a disbeliever in God, why do you argue against religion?
Because it's really, really, really popular and influential, but based on a bunch of stuff I don't think is true. And I care about truth, so having this many lies spread around and watching people build their entire existence on that black hole of a foundation is irritating.
Religion is evil to you?
No, generally not. It's just dumb.
Religion is evil to you?
No, generally not. It's just dumb. Are you gonna do that every video now? Dipping your butt in the toilet?
But it's the soulless.
And torturing the lid?
It's the soulless for so many innocent people, including kids. You know, religion is evil because it tells you that there's an afterlife.
Well, I mean, with some types of religion, the constant gleeful ranting about how the unbelievers are going to burn in hell, I mean, I don't know if I personally would choose the word evil. In fact, I wouldn't. I already didn't earlier. But in some cases, I can think of worse choices. And then you say it's the solace for kids. Well, plenty of kids' experience with religion is their parents and their community using God and hell as psychological terrorism to enforce compliance through fear. Even if sometimes they say, oh, well, Grandpa's in heaven, on balance, I still wouldn't say that's solace. Now, yeah, sure, some types of religion are not like that, but a lot are. What's your opinion on that, Albert?
But they stop the kids from putting a scissor in their eye to go to the afterlife.
They stop the kids from putting a scissor in their eye to go to the afterlife. So they put the idea in the kids' heads, hey, there's this amazing afterlife, and if you die, you get to go there. And so the kid thinks, wow, what if I put a scissor in my eye? Then I'll get to go to the afterlife. And so they go, oh, crap, now we've encouraged kids to do that. Better patch that bug out. Okay, if you do that, you'll go to hell. The loving God will torture you forever if you do that. So don't do it. Great, so they create a problem, an oddly specific problem of kids sticking scissors in their eyes, hoping that will send them to heaven, which I don't know if that was ever actually a problem, but let's say it was. They create a problem and then have to create a solution to that problem, and the only one that they can come up with is psychological terrorism. So it's two incredibly unhelpful things stacked on top of each other, but they're supposed to cancel out now and make this a good idea.
They maintenance their religion, and it's all about positive vibes.
No! Telling kids all you gotta do is die and you get an amazing reward is not positive vibes. And then telling them, but don't die, because God will torture you in fire forever, and also listen to your parents, listen to your priest, never question your religion or you're gonna burn in hell. That is not positive vibes. Where are you getting this it's all positive vibes idea from, Albert? Do you have any idea how religion actually manifests in reality? And yeah, sure, I can think of some religious ideas that are very much all about positive vibes, but those ones are not what you're talking about here, clearly. Anyway, that's about all for that video. On to the next one, called More for the Atheists. Crying, laughing face, praying hands.
So this is another video for the atheists. If I'm wrong, then prove me wrong. But you can't even prove your own points.
Prove you wrong on what? I'm still kind of unclear on what you're trying to convince me of. And atheists can't prove their own points about what? The conversation's so vague and random, half the time I have to kind of guess what you're even trying to say. Yeah, keep that up. That's doing a lot for your brand. It's really crafting an image. Alright, so this video is going to have a lot of skipping, because again, we're kind of just going over the same territory. So here's the first part I didn't want to cut out.
You know, so my point is
Butt goes in toilet.
Is that we're made by
Torture the lid. Every time. It must be an artistic choice.
intelligent design. There's intelligent design, or if the creator of the earth was just giving birth to it, or the earth is like a seed or something, then that celestial being is God because it is the greatest.
Okay, and this is a physical being, which what? If that's God, then was that just always there? You said this thing giving birth is the greatest because it's giving birth to the earth. So like that's where we can stop asking questions? You've got the earth, and then whatever gave birth to the earth is the greatest of things, and therefore God. Okay, but where's that from? What is that? Do we not need an explanation for that? And if not, then why do we need an explanation for the earth? You said science is mostly just pseudoscience. Maybe the science that says the earth didn't always exist is pseudoscience.
But you could also worship the water as if it were God, because water keeps us all alive.
Oh, right. If it didn't come from anywhere, then we just call Earth itself God, or water God, or if not that, I assume whatever else we feel like. We're just slapping these labels on anything we want, willy-nilly. Why? What's the point? What purpose does any of this serve? I don't know. Gives you something to think about while you're on the toilet.
So we should be praising water and treating it as if it were holy.
Okay, but that's assuming that the water is the god. But you think it's more likely that something gave birth to the earth or created the earth, and that's God. In which case, water is just something it created. So this would only apply if water's the first link in the chain, right?
Read the description for more.
Oh, okay. My points are, I just believe that there is a creator. I also believe that things like water and the earth deserve worship and praise because of what they do for us. Oh, so the water's holy regardless of whether it's God. If it's God, it's just more holy, presumably. Or not, I don't know.
Why don't you believe in a higher power?
Well, nothing you've talked about here is really a higher power. Like, I believe in water. I believe in the earth. I don't believe there was some giant monster that gave birth to the earth, but if there were, I wouldn't call it a god. That doesn't fit any definition of God that I would use. That's far from the standard definition. And I also wouldn't really call it a higher power, in any sense other than it's big. It's totally possible for an atheist to believe there was some giant organism that gave birth to the planet somehow, and still not believe in anything referred to by a standard definition of the word God. You're confusing the issue by putting labels like higher power and God onto stuff that very, very few people would consider them to reasonably apply to, which severely degrades the usefulness of this conversation.
And do you still believe in the soul?
Still? No, I don't believe in souls, although atheists can believe in souls.
That energy is, constant. That energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Because I don't believe in that, and I believe in God.
Wait a second. Before, when you said that you don't believe in God or the soul, were you talking about this? That energy can neither be created nor destroyed? Because at first I thought you were talking about this as a separate concept, but now I'm starting to think maybe you're trying to equate these. That the persistence of the soul is the persistence of energy. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
I believe energy can be used up, then it separates and dissipates into ashes.
Okay, yes, when you burn wood, there are ashes, but that's not all that's left. You have not understood the concept very clearly, but did anyone expect that you would? No. And does anyone care if you do? Also no. So let's move on.
And I believe in God. And that is a more realistic belief than believing that the energy of the universe is the soul or something like that.
Yep. I was right. You're equating the persistence of souls with energy not being destroyed as if souls and energy are the same thing, which they of course are not. They're totally different concepts, which have nothing to do with each other.
So if you're an agnostic or an atheist, I probably just pushed you further. Now, you don't believe in the soul.
Albert, nobody's changing their beliefs based on your videos. Nobody. Additionally, most atheists that you're encountering already don't believe in the soul, and they in no way equate it to the conservation of energy. Where did you get this bizarre idea that that's some sort of a typical atheist thing? You just kind of pulled that out of the air, huh? Alright, on to the fourth and final video. And although it's only been a short amount of time, I am very, very ready to be done. What a total waste of time. This one's called Another Video for the Atheists, crying laughing face, crafting my own beliefs.
Hey guys.
Hello again.
So this is yet another video for the atheists.
Yeah, I noticed. Why?
I'm trying to appeal to you.
Then get out of the bathroom. Go outside, anything.
A physical God, not a spiritual one.
Which doesn't sound like a god at all, by any common definition. I believe in all sorts of physical things, Albert, but I'm not just going to call them God for no reason, and then declare that I actually believe in a literal God. That would make no sense. Why would I do that?
Because the soul, now that seems like too many lies to believe in. Like I'm supposed to give up my life to some guy that's going to come back from 2,000 years ago, and he's going to heal me and take me to heaven?
That's not what the belief in the soul is. That's Christianity. Related concepts, for sure, but they're not even close to being the same concept. And here comes the headache. Haven't had that for a while.
Now, I don't agree with that either. But a physical God, like a celestial being that created the earth, or that shot water into the planet.
Shot water into it, like with a celestial pressure washer and a 0-degree nozzle.
Possibly even throwing it around orbit with the sun. Now, what's so impossible with believing in that?
Okay, well, to start with, that's not a god. And the reason that I can't believe in that is because there's no reason specifically to believe in that. You've just made it up. I don't believe in things just because you made them up. Why would that be my standard of belief? If you want to do that, go for it. That has nothing to do with me or anyone else.
I'm just naming it God.
Yeah, I know, that's the problem. You're just naming things God and expecting people who don't believe in God by the standard definition to go, oh, I believe in God now, because you just named some random thing God. That's obviously not gonna work, Albert.
But that could be our real creation. You know, the earth really could be alive. You know, but the fact that your conviction is that there is no God, and you discount all spiritual possibilities.
Dude, you just said your idea of God is physical and not spiritual. You just said that. So if I'm discounting the possibility, it's not a spiritual possibility I'm discounting. Toilet thoughts. It's all just toilet thoughts of toilet quality.
What's so unbelievable about believing that the earth is alive? I mean, it sustains us.
The earth has chemical properties sufficient to sustain life, yes. Why would that mean it's alive?
There's soil to grow plants from.
Yes, the plants are alive. The bacteria and fungi and everything in the soil are alive. Yes, there are living things on the earth. What does that have to do with the earth as a whole being a living organism?
We figured out how to grow plants by ourselves.
I think the head tilt is supposed to be very meaningful. That's supposed to carry information of some sort. It's supposed to somehow reinforce your point. But your point was what? Humans figured out how to grow plants, therefore the entire Earth is a living organism. In what way is the head tilt contributing to this argument?
How can you say that there is no creator?
What does that have to do with anything you just said? You're just saying random sentences.
Don't cults hang on to beliefs to manipulate people? Now, how do you know that atheism isn't a cult?
Well, because
it's the disproving of a higher source of power.
Well, sort of. Not really disproving, more just not believing. But yeah, see, the reason atheism isn't a cult is because it's not about anything you believe. You see? You can't really have a cult based on just not believing one thing. For a cult, you need some kind of a belief system to build the cult on.
It disproves it, but without even knowing about it.
It doesn't even do that. That's not what atheism is. It seems like you really don't bother to understand any concept before you open your mouth.
You know, there's cults all around, and I don't fall victim to lies. I even crafted my own beliefs. Read the description for more.
No, I don't think we're going to get anything out of that we haven't already got.
I crafted my own beliefs according to what I believe.
How did you craft your beliefs according to what you believe if you didn't already believe what you believe before you crafted the beliefs to believe?
So that nobody could manipulate me.
How does any of this nonsense you've talked about prevent people from manipulating you? Beliefs that prevent you from being manipulated are about, like, human psychology, techniques of critical thought, things like that. But you're not talking about any of that, you're talking about what? Well, I already have a weird God belief in the God slot, so nobody can convince me of a new one or to get rid of this one. Is that it?
So how are you going to manipulate me if I believe in a celestial being creating the earth and the earth being alive? How are you going to manipulate me?
By using a bunch of logical fallacies and psychological tricks that you have absolutely no immunity to because you have no critical thinking skills whatsoever? What do you think that believing the Earth had a mother has to do with being hard to manipulate?
I can switch back to atheist beliefs and only believing in science.
Oh, really? Like flipping a switch. Back and forth, believe whatever I want. Okay, I don't think you understand what a belief is, either. It's not just something you say.
When I spot a lie that's trying to take control of me.
I don't understand what that has to do with anything, but then again, I don't understand what most of anything in any of your videos has to do with anything. Anyway, he pitches his services for $10 an hour. I felt no need to go over that again. And that's it. So that's the response from Albert, for what it's worth, which is nothing. Thanks for watching it with me. Subscribe, and if you like the channel, I'm supported by my viewers, please do consider supporting. Huge thanks to all of my supporters. See you next time.